Hello and welcome to Healthy Aging Blueprint. I'm truly grateful you're here. On this channel, we explore simple, powerful ways to care for your body, nurture your mind, and live with purpose at every stage of life. Wherever you're watching from, I wish you good health, peace, and lasting happiness. If you find value in today's video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a step on your journey to aging well. Have you ever looked around and realized there's no one left to call? No best friend to laugh with over morning coffee? No one checking in, not out of obligation, but simply because they care? What if the quietest part of aging isn't the silence in your home, but the silence in your heart? And what if no one warned you about this kind of loneliness, because no one wants to admit it exists? In this video, we're diving into a quiet truth that rarely gets spoken aloud. What really happens when older women lose friendships, and how that loss can quietly shape their happiness, identity, and even their health. You'll meet Linda, a 71-year-old woman who faced this reality head-on, and through her story, you'll discover how thousands of women are beginning to reclaim connection in ways that are deeply personal and sometimes unexpected. Stay with us until the end, because the most powerful moment in this journey is the realization that you're not the only one feeling this way, and that you never, ever have to stay stuck in that silence again. Before we begin, if this message resonates with you, please like the video so we can continue sharing these stories that matter. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so and turn on the bell so you won't miss future content. If you found this video helpful, comment with the number 1. If not, comment with 0 so I know how to improve it for you. Let's begin. 1. The hidden loss no one warns you about. As we age, we often prepare ourselves for the visible signs of getting older. The slower steps, the silver hair that quietly replaces what used to be, the routine doctor visits that begin to mark our calendars. Society, family, and even the healthcare system offer advice and resources to help us adjust to these physical changes. We're reminded to eat better, move more, take care of our bodies. But there's another kind of change, one that is harder to see and even harder to talk about. It's subtle at first, often ignored, and yet it catches so many older women off guard. It happens quietly, the gradual fading of friendships that once shaped a woman's daily rhythm. This type of loss doesn't arrive with announcements or dramatic goodbyes. There's no clear moment to mark it, no farewell dinner or big change to point to. Instead, it slips in silently, almost invisibly. One day you realize your phone hasn't lit up with a text or call in weeks. The lunch dates that used to fill your weekends have quietly stopped. The neighbor who shared your morning coffee has moved away to be closer to her grandchildren. A spouse passes. Your children grow up and build lives hundreds of miles away. And suddenly, the daily rituals of connection, the little moments that once felt as natural as breathing, start to disappear without warning. What was once a rich, colorful tapestry of relationships, built from years of shared laughter, midnight conversations, and mutual support, begins to unravel. Bit by bit, that community of comfort and familiarity gives way to a quiet, unfamiliar stillness. For many older women, this slow-moving loneliness doesn't announce itself loudly, but its impact is deep. It's not the dramatic kind of sorrow you see in movies. Instead, it's a low, persistent ache, a sense of longing that nestles into the bones. Take Linda, for example. She's a 68-year-old retiree who spent years preparing for what she believed would be the most peaceful chapter of her life. She bought a charming home in a quiet town. She planted a garden, mapped out her days, and looked forward to finally resting after decades of hard work. On paper, it was exactly what she had hoped for. But what Linda didn't plan for was the emotional space that began to grow in her life. Her new home was beautiful, yes, but it couldn't replace the feeling of a friend's smile across the dinner table. It didn't offer the comfort of a voice on the other end of the phone that truly understood her. And as days turned into weeks, that absence became undeniable. It wasn't about missing possessions or plans. It was the absence of connection that made her feel adrift. Her life, once full of movement and meaning, now felt quiet and strangely hollow. This is the silent heartache that so many women face as they age. Not a dramatic loss, but a slow erosion of emotional intimacy, often too quiet to notice until it's deeply felt. It's not the loss of status or possessions that weighs most heavily. It's the quiet, unspoken loss of people. And yet, society rarely acknowledges this kind of grief. There's a subtle, yet powerful cultural message that tells older women they should simply be content. Content with a quiet life. Content with the occasional family visit. Content with a knitting group, a gardening class, or a few volunteer shifts at the local community center. And while all of these activities can bring joy and purpose, they often aren't enough to replace the depth and richness of real, soul-level friendships, the kind that make you feel truly seen, truly heard, and fully alive. These are not just pleasant extras in life. They are essential. They breathe life into our days and give us emotional grounding in a world that often moves too fast to notice us. Still, a damaging myth persists. The idea that as we grow older, we somehow outgrow the need for close friendships, as if the longing for connection simply fades with age. But ask yourself, has your heart stopped craving warmth? Has your spirit stopped needing companionship? Science tells a different story. Research from trusted institutions like the National Institute on Aging and Harvard Medical School confirms what many older women already know deep down. Strong social bonds in later life are tied to better blood pressure, lower rates of depression, sharper mental focus, and even increased longevity. These are not small things. These are the building blocks of a vibrant, meaningful life. Emotionally, the impact of friendships is even more profound. They remind us that we are still worthy of love, of joy, of shared memories and deep laughter. A true friend acts like a mirror, reflecting back our values, our strength, and our worth, especially when the world seems to look past us or forget we're still here. Without those relationships, life's ordinary challenges, health scares, grief, or even daily frustrations can start to feel unbearably heavy. A friend isn't just someone to have lunch with. They are often the person who helps you make sense of the day, who reminds you that you're not invisible, and who gives you a reason to get up and keep going. But when these friendships slowly disappear, many older women begin to internalize the loneliness. They may start to believe it's their fault, that they didn't try hard enough, or worse, that this is simply what aging looks like. But it's not a personal failure. It's not a natural part of aging. It's a cultural blind spot, one that has gone unchallenged for too long. And it's something we can choose to see, speak about, and ultimately change. This is a call to break the silence, a gentle but powerful invitation to finally give voice to something many older women feel but rarely admit out loud. That quiet thought, I miss having someone to talk to. If that resonates with you, know this deep in your heart. You are not broken, you are not weak, and you are absolutely not alone. The good news is that it's never too late. Never too late to reconnect, rebuild, or rediscover the joy that real human connection brings. Whether your friendships have faded slowly or were suddenly lost through life changes, there is always a path back to meaningful connection. In the next part of this video, we'll explore the reasons why friendships often drift away after 60, and more importantly, the practical steps you can take to welcome them back into your life. Because your story is far from over. It's not closing, it's turning the page. And this next chapter, while uncertain, holds the potential to be one of the most beautiful and enriching yet. If you're still here with me, watching this video and finding these reflections helpful, please comment the number 1 below. It's a simple way to let me know you're still watching and that these words matter to you. Thank you for giving your time, your heart, and your presence. Now, let's look more closely at an issue that often remains hidden: Loneliness as a silent health crisis. Building on the emotional toll of fading friendships, we now face a truth that is both urgent and too often ignored. Loneliness isn't just a passing feeling, it's a serious health risk. For older women, prolonged social isolation can have consequences as severe as smoking, obesity, or chronic illnesses. That's not just a metaphor, it's a conclusion backed by leading public health experts. And yet, unlike high blood pressure or a visible injury, loneliness doesn't show up in lab results or imaging scans. It hides in plain sight, slowly weaving itself into everyday life. Its symptoms are subtle but profound: restless nights that stretch too long, anxiety that creeps in without warning, a lack of motivation to do the things you once enjoyed. Or worse, that hollow feeling that you're slowly disappearing into the background of your own life. Let's revisit Linda's story. 6 months after moving into her new home, the one she had dreamed of for years, she began to notice small changes she couldn't explain. She found herself sleeping longer but feeling less rested. Her movement slowed. She began forgetting little things: where she'd left her keys, whether she'd already taken her vitamins that morning. It wasn't just forgetfulness. It was a quiet unraveling of energy and clarity. Her doctor reassured her that everything looked fine. Her blood pressure, her heart rate, her labs were all within healthy ranges. Physically, she was well, but emotionally, Linda was slowly coming undone. Without regular social interaction, her sharp mind began to feel foggy. Her sense of purpose wavered, and that vibrant spark, the one that used to light up every room she walked into, had started to flicker and fade. This wasn't just a rough patch or a passing mood. It was her body and mind reacting to something very real: isolation. Science supports what Linda was going through. Research from the National Institute on Aging, along with numerous other studies, confirms that chronic loneliness doesn't just affect mood, it triggers physical consequences. It increases inflammation, weakens the immune system, and accelerates cognitive decline in ways that aren't always visible right away. Seniors who are socially isolated face a significantly higher risk of developing conditions like dementia, depression, and even heart disease. The truth is, our bodies are biologically wired for connection. Without it, they begin to break down, not with dramatic symptoms, but slowly, almost imperceptibly, like a home quietly falling apart from neglect. At first, it's just a loose shingle or a creaky floorboard, but over time, that small disrepair grows into something harder to fix. What makes this especially heartbreaking is how many older women blame themselves. They tell themselves, "Maybe I'm just getting old," as if it's a natural decline. But in reality, many are simply reacting to a deep, unmet emotional need. Here's something important to remember. Loneliness doesn't require a full social calendar to be eased. You don't need to be the center of attention or surrounded by people all day. Often just one meaningful relationship, a person you feel emotionally safe with, someone you can share stories with, vent to, or sit beside in silence, can make all the difference. Emotional connection isn't a luxury. It's not just about having pleasant company. It's a form of medicine. It strengthens your immune system, improves cognitive function, and enhances emotional resilience. Studies consistently show that people with strong social bonds cope better with grief, manage stress more effectively, and recover more quickly from illness or injury. And yet, society often misses this point. Instead of encouraging older adults to build new friendships or nurture old ones, the common advice is to stay busy. Take up a hobby, help at the soup kitchen, attend church services, call your grandkids. But staying busy is not the same as feeling connected. You can fill your entire week with activities and still come home feeling deeply alone. Loneliness isn't healed by motion. It's healed by meaning, by real conversations, by shared experiences, by moments where you feel genuinely seen and heard. And the reason so many older women are missing this is not because they've failed at life. It's because no one ever taught them how to rebuild relationships in the second half of life. And like any journey, the first step toward change is awareness. recognizing that loneliness isn't your fault, but is still your responsibility to address, can be a turning point. It's the moment when healing begins. Not because everything gets fixed overnight, but because you finally allow yourself to shift from silent suffering to conscious rebuilding. In the next section, we'll explore the quiet but powerful transitions that slowly dismantle social circles after 60, and more importantly, we'll walk through practical, realistic ways to start rebuilding those connections again. Because at the core of your health, your happiness, and your hope, there's one constant truth. We all need to be seen. And equally, we need to allow ourselves to be seen again. 3. Why friendships fade after 60, and what you can do about it. In the last section, we uncovered the silent health risks of loneliness, a slow-moving epidemic that affects not just the mind, but the entire body. But that leaves us with an essential question. Why does it happen? Why do women who once enjoyed full calendars, supportive friends, and laughter-filled gatherings find themselves feeling more and more alone after crossing into their 60s? The answer isn't rooted in aging itself. Rather, it's found in the series of major life transitions that tend to cluster during this stage of life. Each shift may seem manageable on its own, but together, they can quietly erode the foundations of a once thriving social life. Understanding these transitions is the first step toward reclaiming your connections and reshaping the next chapter of your story with intention and grace. Take retirement, for example. It's often painted as the reward after decades of work, a golden chapter of rest, hobbies, and freedom. And in many ways, it is. But it also comes with hidden consequences. Retiring means stepping away from the daily structure that work provides, and perhaps more importantly, from the small but meaningful social interactions that came with it. The morning greetings, the shared frustrations over a tight deadline, the conversations over lunch. Those seemingly minor moments created a rhythm of connection that's hard to replace. Then there's the shift in family life. When children grow up and move away, the daily pace of family responsibilities, school events, playdates, weekend activities, begins to fade. What once was a house full of noise, motion, and purpose becomes a quieter space. And that silence, while peaceful at first, can soon feel heavy. The loss of a spouse, whether from death, divorce, or emotional distance, can further dismantle your social routine. Couples' dinners, shared hobbies, or weekend getaways may disappear. Even long-time friendships can shift when your role within that social circle changes. And sometimes, even a move that's meant to bring peace, like relocating to a new city or downsizing into a retirement community, can cause more disruption than anticipated. Uprooting familiar routines, losing proximity to long-standing friends, and starting over socially can feel disorienting. These moments aren't just life events. They are social earthquakes, subtle but powerful tremors that shake the foundations of connection and community. The foundations of connection that once felt so solid can begin to erode without you even realizing it. And often, this unraveling happens slowly, so gradually that it escapes notice until it suddenly becomes undeniable. One day, you pause and realize it's been weeks since you've had a truly meaningful conversation. You scroll through your phone, glance at the names in your contacts, and find yourself hesitating. Who could you call without feeling like a burden? Who would genuinely want to hear from you? Then, perhaps the most damaging thought of all slips in quietly. Maybe it's too late. But here's the truth. It's not. It is never too late to rebuild. Never too late to connect again. Forming friendships later in life may look and feel different from the effortless bonds we experienced in our youth, but it is far from impossible. In our younger years, friendships often happened by default. Classmates, coworkers, neighbors, people we encountered daily, naturally becoming companions simply because of shared space and routine. After 60, the process changes. Connection becomes something we pursue intentionally. It requires more than just showing up. It takes courage, openness, and a willingness to lean into vulnerability. It means making room for opportunities, even when they feel unfamiliar or intimidating. It means signing up for that class at the community center, joining a book club, saying yes to an invitation, or logging into a virtual group when mobility becomes a concern. It's also about initiating, sometimes with something as simple as a message that says, "I've been thinking about you. How are you doing?" Small gestures like these may seem insignificant, but they carry incredible weight. They open doors. Think of the woman who joined a local walking group just to get outside, and ended up meeting someone who shared her love of poetry. Or the woman who began volunteering at an animal shelter, only to find unexpected friendships blooming through shared compassion. Then there's the woman who, after years of silence, reached out to an old friend, only to discover they had both been longing for the same connection but didn't know how to begin. Each of these stories has something in common. They all started with one quiet, brave decision: to show up, to try, to be open, even when it felt awkward or uncertain. And that's the key. Rebuilding connection in later life isn't about recreating the intensity of youthful friendships. It's about making space for slower, deeper, more meaningful bonds. You don't need 100 people. Sometimes, all it takes is one safe person, one genuine exchange to begin again. A thriving community, whether it's a book club, a church potluck, a knitting circle, or a shared ride to the farmer's market, often starts with one person deciding to take a step forward. One person saying, "I'm going to try anyway." That choice, the decision to try, is available to you right now. No matter your age, no matter how long it's been, you can take that first step. In the next section, we'll challenge the outdated belief that older adults can't form meaningful new connections. In fact, we'll reveal how this stage of life holds unique strengths that can lead to some of the most rewarding and lasting friendships you've ever experienced. If you're still watching and finding these reflections meaningful, please comment the number 2 below to let me know you're still here with me. Thank you for taking this time, for yourself, and for your well-being. 4. The truth about starting over. One of the most harmful and persistent myths about aging is the idea that it's too late to make new friends. That after a certain age, connection becomes impossible or irrelevant. But as we've already begun to see, that idea simply isn't true. It's a falsehood rooted in stereotypes, not in the lived experiences of older adults. The reality is this: your age isn't a barrier, it's an asset. It's a source of wisdom, depth, clarity, and honesty. You've lived through joy, disappointment, change, love, and loss. And because of that, your capacity for connection is not diminished. It's refined. In fact, many women over 60 report that they feel more emotionally available than ever before. They know what matters in a relationship. They're no longer chasing approval or clinging to superficial impressions. They're more interested in depth, in real conversations, in being around people who value authenticity over performance. Why is that? Because they've already walked through the fire of life. They've had relationships that shaped them, for better or for worse. They've seen what it means to be accepted, and what it feels like to be misunderstood. And now, they understand that connection isn't about impressing others. It's about being seen and loved as you are. This authenticity becomes a kind of superpower. It allows women in this stage of life to create relationships built on something real: shared stories, emotional understanding, mutual respect, and a genuine desire for companionship that goes far beyond small talk. Let's return to Linda, one last time. After months of sitting alone in her quiet new home, she made a decision. She signed up for a memoir writing workshop at the local library. She almost didn't go. Anxious about being the newcomer in a group of strangers, overwhelmed by doubt, and unsure if she even had anything worth sharing. But she showed up anyway. She walked into that small, fluorescent-lit room with a notebook in her hand and a flutter of nerves in her chest. And what she found waiting for her was not judgment, but community. Sitting in that room were 6 other women, ranging in age from their late 60s to early 80s. Each of them carried their own stories, their own hesitations, and their own longing for connection. They shared stories of love, loss, and resilience. They read their writing aloud, exposed their vulnerabilities, and, over time, shared laughter that stitched them together in the most unexpected way. That simple weekly workshop became the heartbeat of Linda's life. Not because it erased all her challenges, but because it reminded her of something she had quietly forgotten, that she still belonged, and that her story still mattered. Linda's experience carries a powerful and universal truth. The foundation for new friendships isn't about saying the perfect thing or showing up with a polished image. It's not about being impressive. It's about being present. It's about choosing to show up, to stay open, and to let people in, even if that opening happens slowly. You don't need a crowd. You don't need dozens of names in your contacts or an overflowing calendar. Sometimes, all it takes is one genuine connection to shift your entire perspective. A shared cup of coffee, a meaningful, no-pretense conversation. The quiet comfort of seeing a name in your phone and knowing, without hesitation, you can call. These simple human moments are enough to reignite hope. If you've ever found yourself wondering, have I missed my chance? Let this be your reminder. You haven't. In fact, some of the most powerful friendships aren't formed during carefree youth. They're forged later in life, in the midst of change, loss, and self-discovery, in the fires of reinvention. When you're no longer bound by who you were, you're free to choose who you want beside you in the chapter ahead. Later life gives you a rare and beautiful gift, the chance to choose your people with clarity, to release relationships that no longer serve you, to be intentional about the kind of connection you welcome into your world, and in doing so, to write a new story, one that reflects the woman you've become. The women who defy loneliness in their later years aren't chasing the past. They're not trying to be who they were at 30 or 40. They are embracing the gifts that only time can give, the courage to be vulnerable, the wisdom to know what matters, and the freedom to create a life filled with presence and connection. In the final section, we'll share stories of women who have discovered unexpected joy, not despite growing older, but because of the freedom and clarity that comes with it. You'll see how they chose their people with care, reclaimed their sense of belonging, and found that this season of life can be the most vibrant one yet. Keep watching, because what comes next might just be the permission you've been waiting for, the invitation to step into your next adventure with confidence, curiosity, and an open heart. There's another truth that deserves just as much space in this conversation, one that often goes unspoken in a world that places such high value on social connections as the ultimate path to fulfillment. The truth is, not every woman will seek, desire, or even have the opportunity to build new friendships later in life. And you know what? That's more than okay. Happiness, especially in our later years, doesn't follow a single roadmap. There's no universal blueprint. Instead, it's a deeply personal, ever-evolving tapestry, stitched together by our life experiences, the dreams we've chased or let go of, and the quiet desires of our inner world. For some women, life's circumstances, geographic isolation, physical limitations, or simply the fatigue that comes from decades spent caring for others, may narrow the chances for new social bonds. But that doesn't mean joy is out of reach. Others might come to realize that what nourishes their spirit most deeply isn't found in group gatherings or phone calls, but in something more subtle. They find contentment in solitude, in the rich silence of their own company, in the creative rituals they now have the time and space to embrace, or in a spiritual practice that brings them peace. Isn't there something beautiful in discovering that the company you've needed all along might just be your own? This raises an important question. Can a woman live a joyful, purposeful life without close friendships in her later years? The answer, echoed in countless quiet lives across the world, is a sincere and resounding yes. This quiet affirmation reminds us that joy doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't always come from laughter-filled rooms or heartfelt conversations over tea. Sometimes, it lives in the gentle rhythm of days spent alone, but not lonely, in the deep contentment that comes from truly knowing yourself. Aging, for many women, ushers in this profound shift, the long overdue opportunity to reconnect with the self. It's in this slower, quieter season that many begin to unearth forgotten pieces of who they are. With no one to please, no roles to perform, and no external noise to drown out their own thoughts, they begin to return home to themselves. Some find this in the pages of poetry they now have the time to write, capturing moments of grief, hope, and the unspoken beauty of aging. Others dig their hands into garden soil, nurturing life with fingers that have known decades of giving. Some take long, meandering walks, savoring the sounds of birdsong or the gentle breeze against their skin. And in those simple acts of presence, they discover something remarkable. Healing. A quiet, grounded healing that doesn't rely on anyone else to be complete. If you're still with me right now, listening and finding value in these reflections, I want to thank you. Please leave a comment below with the number 2 so I know you're still watching. Your time is meaningful, and I'm truly grateful you've chosen to spend it here. If you're still watching and finding this helpful, please comment the number 3 below to let me know you're still with me. I truly appreciate your time and presence here. This gentle embrace of solitude isn't about giving up on connection or accepting loneliness as your destiny. Instead, it's about choosing presence over pressure, about letting go of society's noisy insistence that happiness must always come from being surrounded by others. It's about allowing yourself the space to craft a life that feels deeply meaningful and authentic, even if that life unfolds in quiet moments rather than loud gatherings. For some women, this kind of intentional solitude takes the shape of a simple yet sacred routine. It might be brewing the perfect cup of tea each morning, the kind that warms your hands and slows your breath. It might be losing yourself in the pages of a favorite novel that transports you through time, or tending to a row of houseplants that lean toward the sunlight, thriving under your care. For others, fulfillment comes from spiritual connection, a soft, steady pulse of meaning found through meditation, prayer, or simply feeling part of something greater than themselves. Whether it's a faith tradition, a personal philosophy, or moments spent in nature, where the wind through the trees seems to whisper reassurance, this connection becomes a source of strength. And for many, joy lives in the little things that go unnoticed by the world, but feel monumental in the soul. The soft brush of a cat curling beside you, the steady rhythm of a dog's tail thumping against the floor, or the joy of nurturing a young woman with your wisdom. These moments are quiet, yes, but they're no less powerful. Even the act of waking each morning with a steady breath and a calm, centered spirit can be a celebration of a life well lived. These personal paths to happiness are not lesser versions of the friendship-filled stories we often hear. They are not consolation prizes. They are not what we settle for. They are full, vibrant, and worthy in their own right. They are deeply human. And even for women who walk a more solitary path, staying open to small, fleeting moments of connection can bring unexpected warmth. These aren't the dramatic, lifelong friendships of youth, but instead, the kind of brief exchanges that remind you you're part of something shared and universal. Imagine this: a kind smile from a stranger at the grocery store, a brief but genuine conversation with a neighbor while watering the plants, or the simple act of someone remembering your name. These moments don't demand much, yet they can reach deep, leaving behind a sense of being seen. The warm exchange of a kind word with a neighbor as you pass their front porch. The brief, familiar smile shared with the cashier at the grocery store. Or the quiet satisfaction of sending a handwritten card to someone you haven't spoken to in years, rekindling a flicker of connection that stretches across both time and distance. These gestures may seem small, but they are far from insignificant. They are like pebbles dropped into a still pond, sending ripples of warmth and remembrance that remind you of a simple, enduring truth. You are never truly alone in the world. And here's the most powerful truth to carry with you. Happiness is yours to define. Society tends to hand out a rigid script for what a fulfilling life should look like. Full calendars, large families, frequent social outings, or milestones that can be measured from the outside. But in this chapter of your life, you are free to rewrite that script. You get to decide what joy looks like on your terms. Maybe it's vibrant and full of voices, or maybe it's soft, still, and deeply personal. If you come alive in the presence of others, let that guide you. Take the brave steps to build your circle. Join that class, attend that gathering, or send a message to a friend you miss. But if peace finds you in quiet corners, in the gentle stillness of solitude, then honor that choice, without guilt, without needing to explain. Because those moments, too, are full of meaning, just as sacred as any celebration. And if your truth lies somewhere in between, find your rhythm in the balance. Blend social moments with silent mornings. Let connection and solitude dance together in your life, each one adding its own color to your days. What matters most isn't what others think a joyful life should be. It's what feels true to the woman you've become, shaped by decades of living, loving, and growing. Whether you're seeking new friendships or nurturing your inner world in peace, your happiness still belongs entirely to you. There is no age where joy expires, no point at which you must stop dreaming or growing, and no deadline for rediscovering what lights up your heart. You haven't missed your chance. You're living it, right now, in this very moment. So if this message speaks to you, let today be the day you take one small, meaningful step toward your own definition of joy. Maybe it's writing a single line in a journal, maybe it's taking a quiet walk around the block, or simply choosing to smile at the reflection you see in the mirror. Notice the world around you. Maybe it's the way sunlight spills across your kitchen table in the morning, or the way a bird pauses on your windowsill as if delivering a silent message. Or maybe it's as simple as sending a message to someone who has unexpectedly come to mind. These small acts of attention, these gestures of presence, are what tether us back to ourselves. If this video has sparked something within you, a memory, a longing, or a sense of possibility, I invite you to share your story in the comments below. What brings you joy today? What part of your life are you reclaiming after years of putting others first? Your words, your courage, might be exactly what another woman needs to read to begin again. You never know. Your story could be the very spark that helps someone else see her potential for happiness in a brand new light. Aging is not the end of connection. It is the beginning of a deeper, more authentic relationship with yourself and the world around you. Whether you find comfort in a lively circle of close friends or are learning to thrive in the quiet beauty of solitude, remember, your happiness isn't something you left behind. It's still ahead of you, unfolding with every new choice, every brave step forward. You've lived through seasons of change, of loss, of reinvention, and through it all, you are still here, standing strong, still capable of joy, growth, and deeply meaningful connection. This video isn't just about loneliness or the absence of friendships. It's a celebration of the courage it takes to define your own happiness. It's about embracing the freedom that comes with this chapter of life and honoring the truth that your story is far from over. In fact, it's still being written, and you hold the pen. And so we come to the close of this journey, one that has taken us through the quiet truths of aging, the undeniable power of connection, and the immense freedom found in choosing joy at any stage of life. You've heard Linda's story, explored the science behind friendship and aging, and discovered real, inspiring ways women like you are reclaiming their purpose, joy, and inner peace. So, let me ask you, what resonated with you most from this video? What insight will you carry forward and make part of your life starting today? share it with us in the comments below. Your voice could be the encouragement someone else has been waiting for. If you found value in this message, please take a moment to leave a comment, give this video a like, share it with someone who may need it, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Healthy Aging Blueprint, for more inspiring stories, helpful insights, and empowering tools to help you thrive in this chapter and beyond. Wishing you strength, happiness, peace, and radiant well-being. And remember, this is your time. Live it fully.